Hey, in this video, I'm going to talk about the problem with macro tracking and what to do instead. So, if you're trying to lose weight, a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, you got to find your calories. We got to get you a good macro split. And yeah, dude, like that totally works. And I've done it in the past. But the problem is, it ends up making you a little bit overly obsessed with the food and the numbers behind the food, and it misses the whole point of nutrition and training. So you essentially like you're told if it fits your macros, you can eat it. And sure, it can work. You can see results. But what happened to me when I followed that in the past is I would follow a macro diet, use MyFitnessPal for every meal, and I would get where I wanted to be. And then I was like, all right, I am now lean. I'm going to stop tracking macros. And eventually I put that weight back on super fast. So, what I started to do instead is just create a structured meal plan that I can follow. But let's talk more about why the macro tracking fails most people, myself included. So, number one is it's unsustainable. Most guys like myself, you start out strong, you track every meal, you weigh every gram, and think, this is it. I'm finally going to get shredded. But after a few short weeks, life gets in the way. You get asked to go out. You might have a big binge on the weekends. You might go out to dinner and you forget to track your macros, and Monday morning comes around and there goes all your progress. You just put on a couple more pounds. And the other thing is that you become obsessed with like, oh my God, like, am I gonna hit my macros exactly today? Like, I need 10 more grams of carbs to hit my goal for the day. And you become disconnected from your body. You might eat beyond when you're full because, oh, I have macros left. You see what I'm trying to say here is it starts to create an obsession where you overthink simple meals and you stress slightly going over your calories, although maybe you had a higher activity day. So, the third problem and mistake is that it teaches you nothing about real nutrition. Like the if it fits your macros was a huge thing and it still is. But I think people miss the point where it's like, all right, hit your macros with anything. And then the whole discussion behind the quality of the foods and what we're actually putting into our mouth just gets totally forgotten about. And like real food does make a difference. You get vitamins and nutrients as well that your body thrives on. So, and the fourth thing is that it doesn't solve the root problem. Most men don't just need help hitting 200 grams of protein or whatever your protein goal is. Most men need a lifestyle shift. And that's what I needed in the past. When I tried to track macros, I would get to where I wanted to be, but quickly ramp back up because the only way I knew how to lose weight was by tracking macros. And I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to track my macros every single day to stay in shape. And so it just makes, it doesn't, tracking the macros doesn't fix broken habits or a poor mindset. It just masks them for a little bit. You can follow anything for 8 weeks and get where you want to be. But what about for the rest of your life? So those are some of the mistakes with macros. And here's what I started doing instead, and is what I encourage you to do instead to get to where you want to be. So adopt a system. I know it sounds crazy, a system. What the hell does that mean? Well, a system that you can see yourself following every day, a system of eating foods you enjoy. So do a little brainstorm activity. What foods do you actually like? Personally, me, I like burgers. I like eggs. I like tacos. I like stir fry. I like Chipotle. So those are the types of foods I like. And I essentially put them in a rotation so that I can hit my nutrient goals for the day, not just hit my macros by eating whatever the heck I want. So you really don't need to overcomplicate it. And what I started doing was essentially eating the same structure every single day, basically 4 to 5 eggs in the morning, Greek yogurt with fruit. And then for lunch, I have either a rice or potato with a ground beef, leaner ground beef. And then maybe I'll throw some black beans on there and low calorie seasoning with 100 to 200 grams worth of vegetables. And that's my lunch. Ground beef is super easy to prep. I'm doing that all the time. And then dinner, a little bit more flexibility there, but same structure follows. Rice or protein or rice or potatoes. Lean protein, typically ground beef. You don't need to have chicken. I think chicken's kind of a weak bird, although the eggs are fantastic. But chicken, dude, I'm not good at cooking chicken. And so I'm not going to force myself to eat it. But if you like chicken, put it into your structure. So some simple rules that I follow to kind of go over it: 3 to 4 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a shake. Post-workout shake, high in proteins and quick digesting carbs. I do think there's value in the post-workout carbs along paired with a lean protein. Those carbs go right into your system, right into your muscles, fuel you up. You feel so good. I call it the protein potion. I will talk more about that in another video, but basically fruits and proteins in a shake post-workout, delicious. Okay. And the structure also that I follow includes real foods, whole foods, not like quote unquote health foods like low fat type of Greek yogurt. Like I like the whole milk Greek yogurt, but if you like the low fat stuff with sugar added and it works for you, go for it. But real foods are the key here. If it sounds too simple to you, that's the point. The more automatic and easy your system is to follow, the more likely that you're going to be able to follow it for life, to be able to stay lean year round, not just for a few weeks in the summer and then you get fat again. So another rule that I like to follow is focusing on high satiety whole foods, foods that are satiating, that fill you up. I will drop down the index of satiating foods, but it's basically comparing certain foods to white bread and how it fills you up. Basically, how full you feel based on eating certain foods. Potatoes, for example, have a very high satiety index. So throwing things like that, especially when you're cutting body fat, you got to manage hunger. So high satiety foods are key for that. Some other examples: steak, jasmine rice, eggs, oats, berries, chickens, potatoes. Those foods fill you up and are not overly calorically dense compared to, you know, uh, 5 Oreos. That's like 300, 400 calories. And I could crush a whole sleeve and that's like 1,000 calories. You kind of get what I'm saying there. Um, but instead of weighing everything, like you do need to have an idea of proteins, fats, and carbs in each bit of your meal. But instead of having to track it meticulously, just kind of have an idea of how much you need. So me, for example, I know I need a pound of lean beef a day or lean protein a day and 4 to 5 eggs and then my protein shake. And then I get enough protein from the Greek yogurt. So I have an idea for myself. And so I encourage you to think about some of your base protein sources. And then you essentially fill in your carbs based on preference and your fats from there. So what's great about this is that it allows you to eat anywhere, okay? At home, out, on vacation. Like I just went on vacation like a month ago and we had an Airbnb. And when we went out to dinner, I could still follow this structure. I wanted to be lean on the beach. You know what I'm saying? So I would have lean meats for dinner. I would have eggs in the morning. I didn't overly obsess about, let me put this into my app to make sure it works. No, that's not what I did. The structure is king here, and it helps me stay dialed in, and I'm communicating this to you because I think it could help you if you're sick of being told, "Just track your macros, bro." No, okay? So the next thing that I like is that it's a bit of, you don't have to be perfect when you eat like this. You just wanna be consistent, okay? You don't always have to be hitting your perfect macros. It doesn't matter that much as other people say it does. Unless you're doing like a super hardcore like bodybuilding prep and you're just like a couple weeks out and trying to dial it in. And that's not most people. So you do not need to go crazy with these macros things. Um, this type of structure allows my diet to run on autopilot, and I really like it. I don't have to think. There's not decision fatigue before I eat. It's like I know what I'm eating. Okay. Pick some go-to meals that you enjoy. I have mine. Pick yours. For the first 1 to 2 weeks, you're gonna have to get used to this new thing. But once you get rolling, I promise you will be dialed in. You'll feel better. You'll start to crave these actual real foods. And this is how you win long term. You don't want to be going in these bulking and cutting phases. Like you always want to be in striking distance. I think Lee Haney would talk about this. He's like, you always want to be in striking distance of being super lean, like maybe 10 pounds out. So think about it, okay? Follow the structure. So this is how I stay lean year round without tracking, without overly obsessing on my macros, right? And this is how other people have also done this as well. So you don't need to micromanage your macros. The thing too with macros is a lot of coaches are like, yeah, dude, just follow the macros. You know why? Because it's super easy to coach someone when all they're trying to hit is certain macros. It's numbers, it's raw data. You can't fuck it up like if you track properly. So, um, if you're tired of obsessing over every gram of food, give what I just talked about a try. If you're curious in learning more, I have a free community. I will link it down in the bio. It's not going to be free forever, but there's a lot of value in there. I talk more about this. Inside, I talk about my training, my nutrition, the mindset. It's not about building just a body to look a certain way. It's also about it's the physical and the mental transformation that occurs. So that's what the Jacked community is about. I'd love to see you in there. Click the link below, check it out. I want some feedback on it, and I'll see you inside. Thanks for watching.
Free audio post-production by IIFYM.com.